Greetings. It is I, Susie Q, here for another little chit chat. Oh my gosh. So, how the heck are you? What's showing up in your field? What's lighting you up, turning you on, and illuminating the goodness in your field? I'm Susie Q, and I am really excited. I was at a lecture yesterday, and I always take really nice little notes. And so it brought up some things for me from the lecture yesterday. And I think one of the ideas or concepts that came through, just I was an active listener at that lecture, but that soul signature stamp. So I'd like to talk a little bit about that today because soul signature stamps for me, right? Maybe for you, is that the possibility that, and it's kind of like a funky thing or funny thing or, the synchronistic thing is that you might be walking down the street, right? And all of a sudden, out of the blue, you have a like eye contact with somebody, and it felt kind of like hello, but then you just walk by, right? So there's no engagement other than some eye contact and maybe a smile, and then boom, it just kind of goes like that for me. And even with that sense of the soul signature stamp, when we look at that, the way that I look at it for my own self is that we're really looking at possibly another soul aspect in a different form, a different body, a different type of being, right? Is that we might remember some sort of a connection with that being through that soul signature stamp, which is frequency or vibration. And so it's really an interesting concept when we look at it because oftentimes when we have that kind of a connection that feels very soulful and fantastic and all of that, it's really more about that ability to discern that that's very possible that soul signature kind of matches mine, but there's nothing I need to do necessarily. Because sometimes people are like, well, that's a twin flame or soul, I don't know, kind of a soul tribe, right? But then we can just start noticing that we're having connections with people and there's nothing that we really need to do, but we might have a quiet acknowledgement that, oh, okay. But it was like quiet, right? So a lot of times people may meet somebody and it would be a spontaneous and spectacular event. And then as it turns out, it was supposed to be just for a blink in time, right? A blink or the eternal moment of now. It just was supposed to be in that moment. And then it was supposed to be gone. And some people, possibly me from my past, is that I would sometimes kind of hone in on some of those soul signature stamps and get a little bit too involved, right? And so those kind of things happen, but it's real important, I think, for each one of us to acknowledge that each of these beings that are around us, these beautiful sea of people or sea of animals or sea of the plant life, is that we just notice that there's so much connection with one another, whether it be from different species or different forms of being, even like with the ocean, with the animals in the ocean, there's still all of this beautiful kind of rhapsody of beautifulness with all these soul aspects. But with that soul signature stamp, it could even look like possibly some flickering light, like have you ever had that experience? I was with a friend and I was getting these flickering lights, right? The flickering lights. And I said, did you see that? He said, yes. So sometimes we get glimpses of not only just the human expression, right? But through some flickering lights or maybe even kind of a little bit of a message that comes through from our hearing or some of our sensory load is that we're getting some guidance there. So these soul signature stamps are so powerful and wonderful that we really get to acknowledge it as a wonderful gift because when we start connecting with our other soul companions or our beautiful soul friends or soul animals or whatever that may be, is we have opportunities to really kind of tune in and just go. It's kind of like a quiet shout out, like, I see you. You want to say that real quiet, like, I see you. I remember you, right? And those are really powerful things when we can go in and go, Oh my gosh, that was a great connection, that soul signature stamp. The next thing I want to talk about that lecture from yesterday was really about igniting your light. Igniting your light, ignite your light, right? So that was a big concept yesterday. And I think even with that soul signature stamp, igniting your light to just kind of discern maybe, yes, that was part of a past life or a future life or some other kind of existence that brought some, kind of rekindled a little bit more love in my field, rekindled a little bit more love and light and more awareness of how love kind of goes across through all time and space. It's super beautiful when you start looking at all of these senses of love and all these beautiful like light beings that are always around. So when we look at that soul signature stamp, we start noticing that when we really are looking at the sea of beautiful people or animals or any other things there, is that we're starting to notice that there is a kindredship with each one of us, right? All of us are eternal beings, right? Our bodies don't, our bodies will finally go back to the earth, right? But when we fly out or we vibrate into the higher realms, and there we are together all again. So we have beautiful opportunities to really look at those times where we do have a connection with somebody. And it could be very, very brief. Sometimes the brief ones are the best because sometimes it kind of gets a little bit messy if you get too entangled with some of those energies. But I think for right now, this idea of that soul signature, there's going to be messages that come through. It could be through different ways and means that are best met for your own consciousness to get more guidance, get more awareness, get more sense of love, more sense of compassion, and more sense of, letting things go with that frequency of forgiveness. And I think with igniting your light with a soul signature stamp, moving into that forgiveness practice is going to be very, very powerful, that you're able to, even if you have a soul signature stamp with somebody that is very close by, but you're like, God, I think there was some energy around there that was kind of tricky, right? Is that we just start moving into a forgiveness practice. And so for me, when I first started doing a lot of this work, clearing things for people, it got kind of like blah, 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 blah. And so now I would just say with that bandwidth of that forgiveness or whatever the event was, is we just send it to the light. We ignite the light by sending that and transmuting that energy. And that's all we have to do. Some people like go into large mantras. When I first started doing this work, it was all this like blah, 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 kind of like I'm doing right now. But we can just go in and we can just ignite that light and send that energy of forgiveness, whatever the bandwidth is, whatever the story, the blah, 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 is that we just go ahead and send it to the light. So that soul signature is a beautiful space to be in, because it's so funny. Like I don't really like to be around a bunch of crowds because I kind of start getting sensory overload in a big way. But if it's outdoors, it's easier for me to kind of recalibrate with the energies. But it's just neat to know that when we're in a group setting or in a sea of beautiful divine beings here on planet Earth, is that we just start kind of slowly noticing bit by bit, right? Is that we start noticing that we're all kind of connected. We're all kind of connected, right? And it doesn't mean that there's anything that we have to do or say, or we don't have to do a dance or sing a song or something, flash, it's like a flash mob of all these soul signatures. It's not that, it's just that beautiful kind of sense of, we're all here together again. We're all here together again. And how wonderful is that we can all come together and ignite that beautiful light, that beautiful source, that source energy, God, that presence that kind of created all of this. It's so powerful. It's so amazing. But that forgiveness thing, I think, is going to be really important as we're working with the other souls that we all came in with. A lot of us came in with this huge band with of some soul beings. Anyway, so I think that's it for now, but this was part of the lecture yesterday. I didn't want to go too deep into it, but the soul signature stamp is something that you'll recognize. It'll feel familiar. It will feel like it's a complimentary piece to you, but it doesn't mean you have to do anything else. Just acknowledge it, right? So sometimes when I look at a person, we just do it through the eyes and then we just move on, right? So it can be that easy. So with this beautiful day, what will you be creating and how will you ignite the light in your field to uplift your beautiful spirit, your beautiful body, and all the other bodies that your physical reality shares with. So we're asking right now, like, what would you do? How would you ignite that light? What would it look like? Would it feel like? And how amazing it is to be with other souls that we've had so many experiences with. It's very, very powerful, very, very loving. So I think that's it. And namaste.